Are you a Big Ten champion? Did you wake up a Big Ten champion, Bradley Loomis? Indiana Hoosier?
My Bears lost, but no one can hurt me because I'm a Big Ten champion. No one will ever be able to take away 2025 Big Ten championship from me. Ever. Never gonna happen. It feels so good to be right. After everything we talked about in the offseason, and damn near everyone called us crazy, non-ball knowers, all this talk. I remember talking to the Iowa guy, and he was like, we're already like halfway through. We already beat Illinois, the breaks off Illinois at this point. And it's like, that's a clue. That's a clue for you. If blowing out every team in the Big Ten last year wasn't enough for you, besides Ohio State, who won the national title, wasn't clue enough that Indiana was already in the national picture. And having to convince some Iowa guy that, we're going to win is insane. And then going on, Mark Rogers' show and saying how we're not close to Penn State and Oregon, which is true in some senses. Like, yeah, we're a lot further ahead of them. Maybe not Oregon because they won it last year, and they're going back-to-back playoffs just like we are, but definitely far ahead of Penn State at this point. They don't even have the same coach. They have a new head coaching hire, Matt Campbell, great hire. But yeah, to just be so right about so many things, and obviously we'll talk about it throughout this show. It just feels so, vindicating, and makes doing this for all our fans worthwhile. And yeah, it was a really just awesome day to be a Hoosier.
Yeah, I know. It's we kind of had a little bit of a discussion about it beforehand, and I mean, I've pushed back on the notion that some of the things that have happened this year have been the biggest moment or will be the biggest moment in Indiana football history. Like, I'm not going to push back on this one. This is by far the biggest moment in Indiana football history. It's one of the most impressive turnarounds in any sport ever.
It's just
and the fact that it happened to our football team in the way that it did, in the speed, the speed at which it happened, and the way that they called their shot. It's just, the entire thing is just wildly impressive. Like, it's, and to be the beneficiaries of this is, I don't know. It's good stuff, Brad.
You nailed it on the head. It really is. Like, we talked about this as it was happening kind of midway through last year when we talked about kind of what trajectory they're on in terms of a turnaround. And like we said, like, if this team wins a national title in the next 4 years, like, it would be the crazy, or a Big Ten title at that point, at that rate, it would be the craziest story in sports history. And just so happens to be happening to our alma mater, our Indiana. It's surreal. How blessed are we? It's like everything's coming up goon. Dodgers back World Series, Lakers, Luka, Indiana, improbable turnaround in football. Bears were the division leaders, but aren't anymore, but are, they're not losing as much. It's like, it's really surreal. And I don't want to make it all about me, but like, being a part of this and being able to kind of cover it with you throughout this time has been absolutely surreal. And just to be able to talk about it every week for about a year and a half now at this point, covering the whole thing is, it's there's not a whole lot of words that can describe kind of what kind of journey we've gone through. And yeah, just proving that, like, like they called it. They told us. Signetti, he wasn't wrong. He was just early when he went to the Big Ten championship game 3 years ago and talked about how he might as well make the trip up there because he's going to be playing in this game next year. He wasn't wrong. He was just early. And, people forget, they only missed out on the Big Ten title game last year because of a tiebreaker.
100%.
The trajectory that this team is going to go on, like, way ahead of schedule, winning that Big Ten title. Like we talked about, stacking days, stacking weeks. It feels like they keep hitting the accelerator button, and winning the Big Ten title in year 2 is just going to hit that accelerator even further. Like, yes, this team is made up of very good players, but a lot of these guys are 2 or 3 star guys, and we talk about, obviously, in a micro sense, that doesn't matter with the individual player. But when you get a program that's bringing in high-level talent in a macro scale, it's only going to, it's exponential kind of where this team can go. And to be able to pull that off with this group of guys who we knew were special, like the intangibles on this team, and it goes far beyond talent with these guys. And obviously they're loaded. Yeah, there's a lot of guys who stepped up through injuries and things like that, and they're loaded talent-wise. But they're just going to keep reloading and retooling, and this evaluation staff that they have and their ability to kind of find the right pieces and make it all work and continue to win and beat some of the most talented teams in the country handily, really. Like they dominated that Ohio State game. It was an insane game, both back and forth. We made mistakes, they made mistakes. I think the refs did a great job. I think it was pretty even across the board. A lot of missed holding calls in both ways, and I think they didn't make any game altering calls, which is what you always want in a big game like that. And yeah, I mean, the missed kick was unbelievable. I mean, the game should have been overtime. It should have been an instant classic. I think we still would have pulled it off because
I don't know. Indiana missed a kick too.
We had more yards. We had 5 sacks on them. The defensive line absolutely dominated, which is like hearing all we mentioned on our pod, but when you listen to all those other pundits talking about Sam and Mendoza and the matchups and Ohio State's defense, and no one was talking about that Indiana D-line versus that Ohio State O-line, and that was the real difference maker in that game and why Indiana pulled that one out in the end. Obviously, Mendoza played fantastic, and he locked up the Heisman, but that defensive line for Indiana was the reason why they won that game, and being able to absolutely –
No, hold on. I don't want to say – no. I'm not going to sit here and listen to you say nobody was talking about that Indiana D-line versus the Ohio – that was the –
I don't think they were. They were not.
Listen to our preview show? Did you listen to our preview show?
I said we talked about it. I said we talked about it. No one else did. And that's, it's because we got Alec Keyser, Indiana sports savant, the head maestro of the Hoosier Army and the master of the eye test. And
no. Definitely not head of no army.
Could be. But, it's pretty surreal, and
it has been quite a journey.
Being right, pretty cool.
Being right is awesome. Waking up Big Ten champions is awesome, and anybody trying to clown you for that is so funny. But it is funny. I'm looking at the date, and it's December 7th, and we're almost like 2 years to the day where I'm texting you, being like, "We need to start this podcast," and it like to hit the accelerator and to be at the position they are in right now. 2 years into the Curt Cignetti era, like that it is even
really.
Even if you thought like we did that this was going to be successful, and you're watching the way the program's evolving, and you're watching the way the coaches are speaking and how words are turning into actions, this is still light years ahead of where any logical college football fan, based on what they've known about the sport, would have put them at this point.
Yeah. History says this is impossible. Which I think is like the biggest thing, which is like it's as confident as we were in like the potential rebuild. History, as the college football historian myself, like it, and Mark Rogers would agree here too. Like this type of turnaround is impossible to do at this high level and this fast. It's almost it has, and that's why we saw this coaching carousel the way it was. It changed everyone's perception on what a rebuild should be, and I think that's kind of the wrong way to think about it, because I think we just got lightning in a bottle, hit the lottery, and sorry suckers, like we got them, and you didn't, and it's going to be really hard to replicate. Probably won't see something like this for another 50 years.
Can I ask you a question as I want to steer this kind of towards talking about the actual game before we get like back into the overall kind of takeaways and the aftermath and all that, because I do want to keep talking about that.
Yeah, we'll get into it. You drive the bus, man.
Did you agree?
I'm high energy right now. I'm feeling it.
Did you agree that Fernando Mendoza should have been named game MVP?
No. He played amazing.
I don't say that. I don't say that to take
MVP
anything.
though.
I don't say that to take anything away from the game Fernando
No.
played. He was phenomenal. I think he locked up the Heisman. I thought he was great. He made the throws.
I didn't know you were going to ask me this question either. It's funny that we're on the same page here. So I remember seeing it. And I was like, huh.
Well, because they announced it and it was like pretty matter of fact, and everybody was like, "Yeah, he's the MVP," like obviously. And I was like, like I don't know. Like I saw
that had some crazy.
Some people had some awesome games. Not that Mendoza wasn't the orchestrator, and not that he didn't make a couple really big time throws, and like his toughness mainly and his ability to move around. And that was another, like, Indiana moved Curtis Rourke off the spot 0.25% of the time last year. You saw in this game Mendoza's ability to move around in the pocket, to escape enough to make a throw. And people talk about athleticism and they think you need to be like Josh Allen, where as soon as you get out, you're like a gazelle and you're just gone. It's like you just need to be quick enough to get away. And he's more than quick enough to get away. And
he's such a gamer, dude. When he drew those guys in when running it, like very early in the game, like first quarter, and threw it to Charlie and got the first down. I mean, that's his gamer shit. I mean, he did that. He's done that so many times this year. And like to do it against, it's almost like it's just like any other game. Like Ohio State, best defense in the country, didn't matter. He's a gamer. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's going to go first overall, hopefully not the Jets, but hopefully the Jets can win a few games. But
did they win today?
He not only locked in the Heisman, he locked in the first overall pick last night.
Yeah, and if he didn't, people are morons. And like I actually,
he was slinging that fucker around the field.
He was unbelievable. And I didn't ask the MVP question to say that I didn't think he deserved. Like, I didn't think he had a good game. Like he was phenomenal. But I thought, like, you could, like, in my like, Ro Hardy had an unbelievable football game,
and Charlie Becker. I think
Charlie Becker also had
game MVP. Like, it's hard to think of. Like, Fernando had a big impact on the game. Obviously, he's the quarterback. But those two guys, in terms of considering their position on the field, had just as much of an impact, if not more, on the game. Those two guys played, and one of them came in for injury, really. Like, Coop goes down, first drive. First of all, we started, by the way, got to address we started that game with what? Absolutely
the worst possible way. The Edward Catone edit was so perfect.
Funniest thing is that, I'm not going to lie, like, I was kind of, like, I was worried a little bit. I saw the hit, and I was a lot less worried. I was like, okay, it's probably wind knocked out, cracked rib maybe.
Yeah, can I sidebar you real quick? Because I made the tweet with the Dokes meme, basically saying, like, Caden Curry's a dirty player. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, he was the only person who couldn't hear the whistle last night. But at the same time, he didn't. There were no dirty hits. Everything was legal. The dude was, like, playing hard nose, and he was a game record. He was everywhere in the first half. And Riley Nowakowski, another person who's not going to get nearly enough credit for this game. That dude was unfucking believable in this game. Like, as a run blocker, as a help in pass protection, like as an outlet in the pass game, like, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was great.
But sorry, I thought Caden Curry had a great game, and I got no ill will towards Caden Curry. I think he just plays hard. It was kind of like
Curry. I can hate him. He played for.
I can hate him. I thought it was funny that
took a hit on Mendoza. I can hate him.
Right before the fade ball to Surratt, they had the camera on Curry's face, and he was like smirking, like, and then they snapped the ball, and it was like snap, throw, touchdown. It was like smirk, snap, throw, touchdown.
Surratt for like the one time the whole game on like third down, because it was like, it's third and Surratt, you know, and they just threw that bitch up to him, and he just made a Waffle House play like he always does, and absolutely mossed the DB for a touchdown, take the lead. Unreal game from him. I mean, everyone played fantastic. Like, obviously, Pons had the tough matchup against Jeremiah, right? Who's, people were probably given. I saw a lot of bad things about Pons, and I thought it was super unfair because, like, he had a fantastic game. He clamped him up, and especially in the second half, really stepped up. I mean, it's a battle, right? He's taking on who I consider that dude's going to be one of the best receivers of all time. It's all said and done. Like, he's like Julio Jones, AJ Green, Calvin Johnson. Like, watched him in college. Like, it's just that different. And he's probably better than all three of those guys I just named back when, at least when I was watching them in college. Pro careers are so, the margins, life, it can really, things can, change, right?
Happen.
But yeah, he's as special as they come. And, Pons, I think he had a fantastic game. Jeremiah Smith's going to win. He's going to win a rep here. And he's going to win some reps. It's going to happen. But yeah, there was also a lot of reps that Pons won, and it showed. And you end that first half, and it feels like almost kind of felt like we were in it, but it's like the world's on fire, and you see we're up 40 yards on them. It's like, oh my God, we're actually kind of dominating them right now. They're not doing shit on offense, and that continued in the second half. Very similar to the Oregon game when they shut them out in the second half on offense. Common theme there, right?
Well, I want to go back to before I kind of cut you off and threw you on a different tangent, because you're right. The Caden Curry hit happens. Mendoza's laying flat on his face, not moving, and all of a sudden it's just like every Indiana fan's worst nightmare. The air goes out of the stadium, and you're just like, you have to be fucking kidding me. You know what it reminded me of? And any Liverpool fan's gonna understand this. When Liverpool made the Champions League final, and then Mo Salah, Sergio Ramos ripped out Mo Salah's shoulder in the first 3-4 minutes of the game, and it was just like, oh, the game's, you're just like, oh, it's over. What the fuck? What? The whole season just ended right there. You're like, what are we supposed to do? It's like you're staring at Mendoza laying on the ground, and you're like, I can't believe that just happened.
It's like Tyrese Halliburton Game 7 for you Indiana folks. It was almost like that whole thing all over again. A lot of PTSD probably for a lot of Indiana natives. And it's funny because I saw that, and then once I saw the hit was body.
Yeah, once he saw he was
once
in the
I
chest.
saw his body, I was like, okay, he's probably gonna come back. And then you get that little thought where it's like, damn, at least for me, being as such a Fernando Mendoza truther, where I've always been high on his physicality and his physical attributes, but what always made him different was what was up here and his intangibles, and knowing how tough of a kid and smart of a kid he is, and kind of seeing that, I'm like, oh, it's like a storybook. And that I had the little thought where it's like, holy fuck, he's actually gonna come back in, and we're gonna fucking pull it out and win the football game. That was a thought that came to my mind during that. Obviously, he was still sweating and didn't call the game. Obviously, his stress, that was one of the more stressful watches of all time, period. But that thought did cross my mind, where it's like, wouldn't that be something for Mendoza after all the Heisman moments he's had? People talk or shit. I think Diego Pavia deserves a lot. I think he should get second in the Heisman voting.
Can I give you my Pavia spiel?
And a lot of that comes from the stats, and a lot of people are criticizing hey, Mendoza's stats aren't where maybe a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback is. I've never seen a Heisman Trophy candidate with as many Heisman moments in a season as Fernando Mendoza. Talk about Iowa, talk about Penn State, talk about Oregon, talk about Ohio State. I mean, it wasn't just yeah, they were close. They won the close games, and it was all because Fernando, at the end of the day, made the plays necessary to get the job done. And he did it in using his arm. And that deserves the Heisman.
I could not agree more. I think for Pavia, and I debated tweeting this. I debated tweeting this when I saw him at the UFC event, and I was like, I don't want to give him the popularity now. The focus needs to be on Indiana. But if I were Diego Pavia's publicist or associated with Vanderbilt in any way, instead of sending him to UFC 320 whatever, and the one place where no football fan is paying attention to when the Big Ten championship is on, and this Duke Virginia game is also on at the same time, and all the Heisman voters and writers are watching the Indiana Ohio State football game to see if they're going to vote for one of those two guys for the Heisman. There were 4 conference championship games yesterday. Instead of going to the UFC fight, Diego Pavia should have been at all 4 conference championship games, in the crowd at each one, with a camera shot on him at each one, and have him be a talking point on the broadcast and force it. That's what they should have done if they really cared about him winning the Heisman. But no, he went to the fucking UFC fight and nobody gave a shit. Now they're crying online. It's like, no, I don't care. Diego Pavia had a great year. Congratulations. He's not the Heisman.
Yeah, it sucks because I think he had a very Heisman quality year. But Fernando is leading a turnaround that has never been seen before. It's a very storyline award. The storylines around Fernando clear what's going on at Vanderbilt, which is crazy because we got 10-win Vanderbilt, who had an argument for the playoff this year. They quarterback with 4,000 total offense, led the country in that stat. It was, and that's insane to say. Like that story doesn't even come close to what's going on with Fernando and Indiana right now, and that's awesome. That's so sweet. And to just be right about the whole thing when I called him Andrew Luck back in April, it just makes it all the better. And
well,
he was taking hits, and he showed so much.
Well, you watch him play at Cal, and it was exactly what you saw at Cal, except he had more time to throw, he had better weapons, and he had better coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, what do you think is going to happen if you take an athlete like that with his tools and his moxie and his leadership, and you put him in a system that's designed for the quarterback to thrive? Yeah, he was going to have an elite year. Like me and you were sitting there talking about what he could look like in this offense, going, he's going like if he just stays healthy, he's going to put up Heisman numbers. He's going to be a Heisman finalist at the very least. It wasn't rocket science. It was like these guys are just going to be open, execute the offense. We've seen it happen. And then his ability to make plays and just make stuff happen on the football field is the main reason why Indiana's 13-0. So it is kind of funny how I start this off asking you if I think he should have been game MVP, because he's obviously the season MVP. He's the Heisman. So kind of an interesting question. But yeah, we start off the first play of the game is him making an awesome play and then laying face down on the ground. And then this third or fourth play of the game, they go deep to Cooper, which I thought was, you could argue maybe PI, maybe not. Should he have caught it? I don't know.
I think Cooper should have made a better adjustment on the ball. I think,
but he could have been like, it looked like his calf kind of cramped, or I don't know what happened with him there. They didn't. We got positive. We got a positive update on Coop today. Sig said I don't know if it was his Rose Bowl availability or if it was a different presser, but he said that they didn't sustain anything that would affect them for their next game. He was hopeful. So first, in the first 5 plays of the game, Mendoza looks like he's not coming back, and then Coop goes off. You don't see Coop again. So you're just like, what the hell is going on? And then Charlie Becker, to your point, Brad, and he was in the starting lineup technically. I think EJ was running with the 2s. Everybody stepped up. Like Becker had a massive game. Jonathan Brady had a really big game early. And then the Indiana had to make a change across the offensive line. It was pretty obvious that, Ohio State's got dudes across the defensive line, but Bray Lynch wasn't having his best game. Zen Mikowski was not having his best game. Indiana made the move to go with Ajani and go with Coogan.
Or Benson.
Oh, sorry. Ajani and Benson, and it literally changed the game. It changed the game completely. Yeah,
they were able to turn from 2-yard chunks in the run game to 4, then 6, then 8, then it kind of snowballed from there. And yeah, shout out Kalon Black. That was something we kind of missed in our kind of spiel, because when we're going up, it's like, yeah, we're matching them kind of physically and talent wise almost, right? But like when you're playing a physical team like Ohio State, very talented kids, what comes in handy is a grown man toting the rock. And that's Kalon
and running physically. And he was phenomenal. You're absolutely right.
He was absolute tone setter, one of the bigger leaders on this team, a team captain, and really stepped up as RB2 and really kind of became that bell cow, at least for the Ohio State game.
I was going to say, I don't think we saw Hemby in the second half. And if we did,
Hemby had a good game. If you look at his box score,
he did.
He went 13 for 52. He had decent production. Like, that's not for Ohio against Ohio State. I'm taking that. Give me 4 yards a carry for 13 carries. Like, yeah, sign me up. He played great, but Kalon Black was really the X factor in the run game and really opened that bad puppy up for us. And great. Just you talk about complimentary football. It doesn't get more complimentary than what we saw from Indiana against Ohio State that day. They outcoached them. They outplayed them. A great team. But we were banged up in that game. We're not even healthy. That's kind of the scariest thing about the whole thing is, like, wait till, like, Drew Evans isn't wearing a cast on his ankle Wait till Cooper's healthy. Wait till EJ's fully healthy. Wait till
Lou
Surratt's
Moore,
fully healthy.
Lou Moore, who had an interception in this game, and Indiana had Julian Sayin in hell for large portions of this game. Lou Moore missed a little bit of the middle of this football game too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, tons of guys are banged up across the defense. Fisher's a little banged up. Kamara was out for a time. Ndukwe got a ton of tick in this game. There was a lot going on injury wise with this team, and they're still able to figure out, get it done. And I was right when I called them loaded throughout the year, because you don't get that done against Ohio State without depth, without having an amazing two deep. And that's what we called out in the offseason. No one believed us.
Well, and then when push came to shove, and when Indiana needed to make a play, and when it was 1-on-1, whose guys won?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You look at the fade ball to Surratt. That's a 1-on-1. You're trusting your guy to win. You look at the deep balls to Charlie Becker, who was a monster. That was something that T-Cal, we're gonna have T-Cal on the show at some point. I don't know if it's gonna be. We're gonna reach out. We're gonna figure that one out. We're gonna have him back on again soon. But he was talking about Becker's ability to just beat guys off the line, and just times where he was tormenting Penn State's corners, and just as a deep threat. His ability as a deep threat completely changes this Indiana offense too, because one of the elements that they were missing when they were playing like the Illinois or the Iowas was somebody to take the top off the defense. And Becker, against the best competition you can possibly, and like Ohio State's corners aren't like, you know what I mean? It's Ohio State, right? And when you're playing the top level talent and you're playing the top level defense, when you have a one-on-one matchup to win those football games, you have to win. And Charlie Becker was winning all night. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was unreal. I would have given him the game MVP. I thought, usually that game MVP goes to an offensive player, and I felt he had the biggest impact on the offense. I felt like he absolutely dominated. And
see, I would have given it to Hardy, because it was a defensive focused game, and he made the biggest defensive play of the game.
It's true. And I mean, you know how I see Elijah Hardy, the greatest football player, little mini Miles Jack running around there, and he looked every little bit of it in that game. Just an absolute fantastic football player, great physical attributes. The only issue with him is he's 5'11", 225 from an NFL standpoint, and he's just a fantastic football player. It does not get a whole lot better than Elijah Hardy. That's LB3. It's crazy.
Hardy, the most impressive thing Hardy did yesterday, obviously besides that PBU in the end zone, was his tackling in the run game. And the tackle he made on Bo Jackson, where his arm was like behind him and he like barely tripped him up, was like one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Bo Jackson is an absolute monster. That dude's special. It was a completely different run game, especially in the second half when that dude was in the backfield for Ohio State. And it kind of felt like every time they gave him the ball, it was like 5 yards a carry. And when they put anybody else in, it was just like they couldn't do anything.
He has a lot of that Le'Veon Bell patient running ability, vision that you really don't see from a whole lot. Like, he's not the craziest, like, physical, like, freak athlete running. He's pretty like standard running back attributes. Like, his vision and patience is absolutely insane to see that from a true freshman. Special player, because he's only going to get bigger, faster, stronger. It's true freshman. So we'll see what he can turn into as the years go on, from Ohio State standpoint. Yeah, special player wasn't enough for him, right? Like, besides because the line just absolutely took Sayin out of it.
Besides Jeremiah Smith and Bo Jackson, nobody else really did anything for Ohio State. Like, Julian Sayin had been sacked 6 times all season. He had been sacked 2 times in the game once. Indiana sacked him 3 times in the first half. Like, all of my conversations with Ohio State fans this week predicated on the fact that Ohio State had played nobody this season. And the Ohio State fans failed to realize or understand, or were just ignorant to the fact that Texas or Michigan or whoever you want to put on there, Washington, were just simply not on the level that this Hoosier team is, and that they were looking eye to eye with somebody. They weren't looking down on a team. And but I say that to say the football team itself didn't take Indiana lightly. That was a really physical football game. It was very well played. I appreciated the fact that there weren't a ton of penalties. I think there was one DPI called on Ohio State. There was a couple stupid penalties on Indiana. In Indiana, like the pick by Mendoza wasn't great. It wasn't a great decision to throw that ball, but you'd like to see Surratt kind of fight through that a little bit better.
Hold on, I want to sidebar you there with the Fernando Mendoza pick. fantastic play by Lorenzo Styles to get in there and hit Cooper and bumped into no catch. Just a freak play. Mendoza didn't do anything wrong there. Just a freak play and outstanding read from Lorenzo Styles. Great player.
But other than handing them the ball inside the 20 and then walking them inside the 10 with 2 penalties, like Brian Haynes had, and you hate when I give helmet stickers or recognition to the coaches, right? Because the players have to play, but like both coordinators, I thought Mike Shanahan was unbelievable in this football game, especially with that final play call, going for the jugular, not sitting on it. I thought it was brilliant. But Brian Haynes, the entire game was just, he was unbelievable. He had Julian saying confused and legitimately like questioning where he was going with the football for the first time all season.
Yeah, the red zone efficiency obviously took a dip, but that's just Ohio State being Ohio State. They're a damn good football team, and wasn't going to hold that against Shanahan. And yeah, having the cojones to call that deep ball to Becker on third down late in the fourth quarter to kind of seal the deal was big time. Huge call. And Mendoza to make the throw and Becker to make the catch. Like I said, just Heisman moments after Heisman moments for Mendoza. And like Shanahan deserves a lot of credit. Hopefully, Sig and Shanahan and hopefully maybe and Whitmer and his brothers and maybe even Charlie Becker gets an invite to New York. He might be in the crowd. Like that'd be awesome. He's the roommate, my roommate Charlie Becker. He always says that. My roommate Charlie Becker. But yeah, it's unreal season. Those guys, unreal, unfucking real. Yeah, but Shanahan, yeah, I'm not gonna hold that against him. Made some gutsy calls, and we won the game, so we're not gonna apologize for anything.
No, not at all.
Jobs for life, those guys.
Yeah, completely. Indiana beats Ohio State for the first time since 1988.
Mm-hmm.
It's Indiana's first outright Big Ten title since 1945.
80 years.
Aiden Fisher was unbelievable in this football game. He was also incredible after the football game, leading the entire stadium in the fight song, which was
epic.
Incredible. The crowd, there were large portions of that football game, especially in the second half, where Ohio State had to go silent count. That was a Hoosier home game, Brad.
Yeah.
That was so unbelievably impressive. It was very obvious this game mattered a lot more to Indiana, the fans, than the Ohio State fans, and it showed in the way the crowds traveled. Like that was a home game for Indiana. They absolutely we took over Indianapolis. Like that was so impressive. And to see so many people from the Burner Army, like so many people that like I follow on Twitter, like being at that game and getting to experience that moment. Unbelievable. What a night for Indy. What a night.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to go to the game. Well, it's a big thing to know in the Signetti era. When I'm in Chicago and a game's playing, we're undefeated. We've only lost when I've left home. Ohio State game, I was in LA. Notre Dame game, I was at Notre Dame. I was at the game.
Do you think that matters more than having Drew Evans? Because Indiana is also undefeated when Drew Evans plays.
No, I think I think me being in Chicago makes more of an impact. But I like that take though. But yeah, so what I did, I hosted at my apartment because I wanted to have game volume on, and I wasn't guaranteed at bars that was going to happen, and necessarily didn't want to stand in like a big crowd. So, had some friends, close friends, hosted, pizza, the works, at my place, and then I went to It's Murph at Radius afterwards and got wearing the same IU getup I had watching the game, just pulled up to Radius and got a ton of just like handshakes, like just like congratulations, type deal. It was unreal. Like I'm shit you not, like 20 people came up to me and was like, congratulations on the Hoosiers winning the Big Ten, fuck Ohio. Like it was pretty awesome to kind of see that and experience.
I had a bunch of people reach out to me
from It's Murph yesterday.
I had a bunch of people reach out to me. I'm sure a lot of people had a lot of very similar experiences.
Phone was blowing up, Twitter blowing up. It was a fun time, and just be able to kind of experience those little moments with, close friends and family texting and reaching out and congratulating because they know how much, this means to, honestly, like, even if you're not like the biggest football fan, if you just go to Indiana and kind of just seeing this happen, it's just really special and makes you super proud of your school, which is awesome.
Yeah, school pride. That's
which Indiana has a ton of.
A ridiculous
largest
amount
living alumni, lots of pride in the academic institution that is Indiana University, and have our football team bring something a little extra to what already is a special place is just it's gravy, man. It's the cherry on top, as they say.
Mikal Kamara, obviously, did he have obviously his impact on the game was felt regardless of what he looked like in the stat sheet, but he was unbelievable all season. I think he led the Big Ten in pressures. So just things that don't show up in the actual box score, but just he had an impact on the game.
Who?
Kamara.
Yeah, he did. And Duke Way played a lot, but in Kamara, we just gotta get these guys healthy, man. Like, we just gotta get them back to 100%. Having that, like, remember when I said, like, I'm a little nervous having the bye, right? Because all the bye teams lost last year. I think that was more so just I feel like a lot of those bye teams were not favored in those games. I feel like three out of the 4 of them were underdogs.
Yeah, those were the automatic qualifiers.
Yeah, and then you had like Oregon matched up with Ohio. Like, that's just a tough draw. One of the most talented teams we'll ever see for a long time, that Ohio State 2024 team. And matched up with Oregon. But I think it's perfect for this Indiana team. They're going to business as usual. They're going to get healthy. They're going to get right. Derek Owens is going to go to work, make sure they're still keeping physical, as they're not going to be hitting for 3 weeks. So it's going to be a big Derek Owens impact over the next, as we get prepared for our Rose Bowl game. Pasadena native. We're going to the Rose Bowl. I will figure it out. We'll see. I'm going to try to make it happen. I feel like it has to happen, but you
got to go home. What do you mean?
No guarantees. Like, I will be. So the funny thing is, I'm actually flying out. As of right now, I'm flying out the day before January 1st. So I got to change some flights and then maybe find a ticket and see if I can go. But yeah, that's in the works. We'll see. But yeah, as we prepare for our Rose Bowl on January 1st, it is December 7th. So we got many days until 24 days, I believe, until our next game. So yeah, Derek Owens is going to come big factor in terms of keeping this team, getting them healthy and getting them back to keeping them in game shape.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things he excels at. Justice Ellison, obviously a major part of this coaching staff. Big shout out to him. He was, if you don't know, the first non-JMU transfer to believe in what Curt Cignetti and everybody was building in Indiana. And so to see him on the field, to see him get to enjoy this moment, that was really cool. And so shout out to Justice Ellison. And then like Pat Coogan, I didn't see all of his post-game interview, but just the type of leader that dude is, what he meant, what his impact on this football team doesn't get stated enough. I cannot believe that dude was allowed to hit the transfer portal, let alone ended up on our football team.
Unreal. He started the national championship game.
Well,
he might start another one.
I don't remember if I made this comment on the show, but I definitely made it to you that, and I love Mike Kadick, but that the move to Pat Coogan is worth at least 2 wins.
Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Mike Kadick.
Mike Kadick was incredible at the game.
No, not for yesterday. Mike Kadick, Curtis Rourke, CJ West, Terry Jones, Sean Asbury, all of the seniors last year.
Rourke, West, and Sanguinetti, and obviously Kadick were all there yesterday.
Nice. That's awesome to see. And they deserve to be there too, because that doesn't happen without those guys. And that needs to be said. Very similar to I remember Ben Bull, where, when when Clemson finally broke through for a natty, shouting out like Taj Boyd and CJ Spiller and all those guys that kind of got the ball rolling for them. And yeah, like it doesn't happen without, stacking of the weeks and the days beforehand, right? Like that season, this doesn't happen without 2024. It just doesn't. That's how college football works. And yeah, obviously it's a new season every year, but you got to continue building momentum. And they're the biggest juggernaut in the sport right now. They have the longest winning streak in the sport. They're the undisputed number one in the AP poll. They're the number one seed in the playoff in only 2 years. And they're going to continue to do it.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. We talked about the Edward Catone edit already. If you haven't watched it yet, what he puts out every week is some of my favorite stuff. His Ohio State edit is probably his best work. So if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely go
he really nails it on the head with a lot of those feelings that were happening. It's funny because like obviously it was like, Fernando's down, oh fuck, but like Alberto comes in, I'm still like, we got a shot. It's probably gonna be a defensive battle. Like Alberto could have the crazy game, right? Like that would be.
Well, the funny thing is, like
I wasn't like, oh, the game's over. I was like, okay, it's gonna be a very uphill battle. Defense is gonna have to step up, but we got Alberto, and he could be able to do enough to get it done.
Well, I was gonna say, like, it completely lost my train of thought, actually. Well, here's what I was gonna say: is I was tweeting the entire game, and I wasn't the only one, that it's hard to beat this Ohio State team if you just kick field goals. But if Indiana kicked field goals for all of its red zone trips, it still wins the football game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they made all the kicks still.
Yeah, if they made all of them.
Yeah.
But listen, when people are like, yeah, Ohio State missed a guppy, it's like Indiana missed a short kick too.
Yeah, kicks were even. Like I said, it was very even. Both teams made mistakes.
Yeah, both teams missed a kick. Both quarterbacks threw an interception. Nobody fumbled. There weren't really any brutal or dumb penalties. Like nobody got like personal foul. Like there were no like bullshit roughing calls or like no like stupid fighting like 15 yards away from the play. Like it was a very clean, very well played, very fundamentally sound football game that Indiana was just the better team in.
Yeah, they were the better team that day. They wanted it more. And yeah, I had one of the friends that I had over. He's not he's not the best ball knower of all time. He was asking me like, how many of these guys on Indiana are like NFL guys? And I was like, probably like at least 15. Like they're just at the same level as like Ohio State. When it comes to talent, it was on full display. Like Surratt, Becker, all those guys winning one-on-one matchups. And obviously, Ohio State was doing the same thing to our guys, and two guys that were probably going to play on Sunday as well. That's just what you're going to see when you're in the show. And, we just can't get, never daunted, right? And that's going to be a big theme as we go through this playoff run. And, we're going to see an SEC team in the Rose Bowl. It's not going to think it's going to be like Illinois. It's not. It's going to be a lot like Iowa. It's going to be a lot like Oregon. It's going to be a lot like Penn State. It's going to be the same thing, very similar to the playoffs, post quarterfinals, right? All those were pretty tight, contested, kind of grind them out games.
Well, I don't know. To me, and I was asked this in a DM from a Purdue fan. It's like, how do you beat this Indiana football team? And I was like, well, you have to have an elite defense and an elite scheme, and you better have elite crowd noise. And no team that Indiana is going to play for the rest of the way is going to have the crowd noise advantage. It's just not going to happen. And so you have to be both better like athletically and schematically than this team. So good luck.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of teams. And like one thing that goes very underrated, like Ohio State, like obviously they're defending national champions. They're the same in this regard, but just the conditioning of this team, the wherewithal, feels like every game they play, like they just get stronger as the game goes on, as opposed to kind of wilting, which is a big difference between a lot of games. Like, the Nebraska problem over the past, like how they would always lose those close games. Like that's a wilting problem. They would wilt. They wouldn't get stronger as the game goes on. And that's the real, like when push comes to shove, that's the real difference between Ohio State and Penn State. That's kind of what it was. And like Ohio State and like that's the difference between the elites and then your your Floridas, you know? Like kind of like until that program gets to that level, like they're just going to be like 7-5 to 9-3 every year. Like it's not going to change, right? And I'm not trying to call a particular school out. I'm just using them as an example, right? That's the difference between the teams that continuously win year in and year out and the teams that don't, right? And yeah, and Indiana's got it. Derek Owings, that was one of the best re-signings of the offseason. Obviously, USC wanted him bad, which is always a great sign. You know, if Lincoln Riley has your eye on you, probably doing something right. And yeah, they were able to lock up their whole staff minus Tino. And when Jalen Whitmer got hired, I told you didn't like it because we're big Tino fans, obviously. And I told you this could be an upgrade, right? And it was like,
no, it's like not that I wasn't. No, it's not that I didn't. I'm
not trying to call anyone out. I'm just saying like this program has a ability to continue to evolve and just get better in every facet.
No, I don't know. I don't like the way you painted that. The video's on the channel. People can go check it out.
What? What exactly?
I don't know if I was. I don't like the way you made it seem like I was anti Chandler Whitmer.
Oh, I wasn't. No. It was more so like the fact that I was able, like, I called him a possible upgrade before like the week he got hired. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry I painted you that way. All right. But
to be honest,
I don't a Tino fan, so I can't imagine that you were, super supportive of that take,
What do you mean? Tino was gone.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't know. The videos on the channel.
The point is that the program continues to improve over time in all facets. And yeah, it's just gonna, once we get the talent train and the really be able to just get any guy we want, the system, which is, I was explaining a lot of the recruiting philosophy. So people are like, what's Indiana's recruiting class looking like? That came up a lot in like just conversation. Like, yeah, the 32, which is like actually an upgrade considering the type of talent that they have on the roster. Like we've explained on this podcast, ranked 55th in talent composite on 24/7, got the 32nd ranked class. So by all facets, they're improving their talent by those metrics, right? Their philosophy is we're gonna pay the contributors, the guys that are gonna play. You can come in as a freshman, you will get your stipend, you will get your money, but it won't be, we're not going to give you $1 million. You're going to come here, you're going to win, you're going to be the best version of yourself. If that's something you're bought into, we'll talk. If you're not, you can go see the door. Like it, and they'll find 25 guys every year that are down for that. They will, and they'll continue to find their guys and continue building off that culture, right? Like that's what they're all about, and the winning only gives them access to the higher level recruits that are like that, and they're going to find them and they're going to get them. Because obviously those guys, like, yeah, they're going to go to Ohio State. They're going to go to Bama. They're going to go to LSU. They're going to go to Michigan, where time and time again, those guys win and they go to the NFL. Like now Indiana is one of those schools, right? That's a 5-star wants the Indiana offer now. They want it. We couldn't say that going into this year. That's the big difference.
I completely agree. And that's why anybody who said the Big Ten championship game didn't matter going into this weekend, regardless of what angle they wanted to take towards it. And maybe that was just mainly the Notre Dame fans who I guess don't care about anything other than the college football playoff, because if they're not going to make it, they're just going to dip on it. But yeah, this game absolutely mattered for perception. And if you look at the way that specifically the recruits in the class of 2027 have reacted to that football game, like, yeah, that was a big deal. That game was a massive deal.
Like that doesn't happen if they lose the Big Ten championship, then only win 0 or 1 games in the playoff. Like that doesn't, it's still kind of like, it's still kind of Indiana, like winning that game. 5 stars want the Indiana offer, and that's a game changer.
Completely changes the perception of Indiana in terms of the public. You cannot
deny that team. It gets them over the hump.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
What? I can't use woodenisms.
No. I want to.
DeVries said it, by the way.
The dunking on receipts has been incredible. The Ohio State fans obviously have delivered in full. Just I've been having fun. I just wanted to throw that one out there. The admin, I want to give a huge shout out to the administration. Scott Dolson, take a back. Like when you're tasked with finding a football coach, and not only are you tasked with finding a football coach, but you're then going to provide them with the backing that they provided them with, not only immediately, but then we're prepared to provide them with over and over again. Just absolutely brilliant job from the moment this search started through getting the picture of him today with the football filled with the roses and the gold laces was incredible.
It doesn't happen without buy-in from Pam Whitten. I think that needs to be said.
Absolutely. That Whitten, Dolson, Signetti trifecta is in lockstep, and they make decisions based on what's going to be best for each other. And it is a very positive working relationship. And it's something that obviously needs to continue for Indiana to keep having success. So, but
she came from Georgia. She knows the impact what a good football has on a university. She's seen it firsthand, and absolutely. That's why there's buy-in there.
Like I said, the crowd was absolutely phenomenal. And in the video, like it didn't really hit me until I started getting like the videos from like Bloomington or the videos from the crowd or just like seeing just the like the not the game footage, but the actual like iPhone recordings and shit, and just like unbelievable moment. Lewis Moore, what more can you say about him? And shout out to Brian Lawton, the best damn lawyer in the land. It's still paying dividends. Lewis Moore on the football field, but just like his journey as a Hoosier.
Of course, Lou
coming here. Yeah. Who's surprised? He was great. Both linebackers outside of Fisher, Bones, and like we talked about Hardy for a while, but Bones was phenomenal in this game too. A little bit of a revenge game for Bones Jones.
2 sacks.
Yeah, Ohio native who wanted to go to Ohio State and didn't even get a look. Charlie Becker's dad went to Ohio State. He didn't get a look. This was a Charlie Becker revenge game as well.
OH, fuck you.
OH, fuck you was incredible. What a moment. And all the Ohio State fans who were crying about that, like, who cares? Like, I do not care.
They did way worse than us last year.
And that is
with the newspaper visual they put on the scoreboard and Will Howard throwing out the cigarette, like, they did way more.
Yeah, when they were at the top of the mountain punching way down, it's like, no, that is the least classy or one of the least classy institutions out there.
That's in response to what they did. It's not a first shot. That's a retaliation. Welcome. We've just become Ohio State's worst nightmare.
And it's been brilliant. And then I never have the TV on to my right, but it's on right now because FS1 is rerunning the Big Ten championship game. And so if you want to rewatch the Big Ten championship game, it's currently on right now. And Roe Hardy, shocker, Roe Hardy, Bones Jones, and Lou Moore combining for a tackle.
Very nice. But yeah, fantastic game. I mean, Ohio State played great, like did their thing. It was just like just the two best teams. It looked like the two best teams going at it in a heavyweight fight. And Indiana pulled it out. Like, these games are coin flips, guys. Like, welcome to the show. This is what I've been trying to tell you about these games, right?
The difference in the football game and why to bring this full circle and to put a bow on the game and why Mendoza was named MVP is when it comes down to it, it's which quarterback played better and which guy's going to make plays. And while Julian's saying when the first read was there and the pocket was clean and everything was perfect, can deliver a beautiful football and was hitting his guys in stride, when that guy was slightly confused or when he was getting hit or when there was pressure, he was a different quarterback. And Fernando Mendoza was the one who was making plays. And that was the difference in the football game.
100%. And that may be why he won game MVP, right? Like, he definitely deserved it. But there were other guys, like Hardy and Becker played absolutely fantastic in that game.
And Tyreek Tucker was Tucker and Landino were great too.
And they're both coming back next year. And they're both Daly. OG Signetti first class ever, guys. It's sick, man.
Daly won't be back next year, which is unfortunate. But also one of the things I don't have anybody in particular, Brad, but I did want to ask you this, and I have been talking about this for a couple weeks, but when you get to this point in the season, the next time Indiana plays a football game, it's going to be January 1st. Indiana's spring semester starts what, like January 7th? all those kids who are early enrollees, any of those freshmen are technically now sophomores. Any of those early enrollee freshmen from 2 years ago are now juniors. Like any of those guys who have been developing or trying to get physically ready to play at this point are another year older. And so by the time Indiana takes the field again, I'm not saying that this is a definite, but there is a possibility that at least one or a couple of those freshmen or sophomores are ready to step up and make an impact and be positive depth pieces for this playoff run, which is something that you don't have the luxury of when those guys are learning how to be college kids in the middle of a season. Like this 3-week break is massive for the back end and developing that roster.
Oh, 100%. You get the extra practices. That's obviously the big goal and why teams try to go to a bowl game, which is so weird that, like, you know, there's certain teams that have rejected bowl invites. They don't get those extra practices now. But yeah, they're going to continue to improve. Like, think they've improved this much in 2 years. Think about what's another 3 weeks. I mean, it's insane. Like, the team continues to get better as the season progresses. Give this team another 3 weeks, see what happens. They're already undisputed number one.
Spooky, Brad. It gets spooky. We kind of did helmet stickers, but do you have any?
Hardy,
Yeah, I was
Jones,
say the fellas, all of them.
like everyone gets the helmet sticker. We just won Big Ten title, and they can't take that away from us. Big Ten champs, Indiana, our Indiana. We're all for you. Yeah, I think
for the cream and
I'm ready to put a bow on this. I'm smelling roses. I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to talk playoffs. I'm ready to talk smoke.
Playoffs?
Like playoffs. They announced the playoffs today. Playoffs.
They did. I got to admit, I thought it was pretty funny when they left Notre Dame out.
It's hilarious, right? It's
Did
funny.
You see? Can I sidebar real quick? Did you see the post by Unnecessary Roughness of the guys freaking out when Notre Dame got ruled out?
I mean,
I'm like 75% sure that was the
freak
Notre
out?
Dame voice college football guys.
I didn't see it, but what was the freak out around? The fact that they felt Notre Dame deserved to be in, or was it more so the fact that based on the previous ranking,
I don't think there was a difference in
like Notre Dame.
I thought it was the whole thing was funny.
Are they mad about the inconsistency of the committee to flip teams that didn't play, right? Like those teams didn't play and they flipped them. That in and of itself as a concept needs to be addressed, right? Obviously, when I'm going to break down why it makes sense and why they did what they did based on, because I know how the committee process works, because they go one slot at a time. They go one, who's one? They talk about it. They put one. They go two, who's two? And they do all 25. That's how they do it. So when they got to that point of 10, who's 10? All right, we got Miami, we got BYU, we got Notre Dame. BYU just lost to Texas Tech. They're out, which I personally disagree with. I've said this on the spot. I think BYU should have been in. That would have solved this whole debate, right? Tough to leave an ACC team out, but, you know, it is what it is, right? Okay, so they take their BYU's not in their discussion. So they're really between Miami and Notre Dame. And, you know, they weren't this close before BYU lost. Because BYU lost, now it's a debate between those two for the 10th spot. Games do have to matter, right? Obviously, I think being in a conference champion should matter. And I'll talk about kind of the 2 and the 3 seeds and kind of how I see that one, which was an interesting draw for me as well. But when they got to that, it's like head-to-head games matter. And, yeah, it's week 1, glorified scrimmage in my own words. The game's a game. Miami beat Notre Dame. Same record. Pretty similar strength of records if I'm looking at resume. Yeah, Notre Dame 13, Miami 14 in strength of record. Very similar resumes. And, yeah, and they put in Miami. in that process of going one line at a time that time around when they did it. Now it looks a little weird flipping those teams without them playing, but based on how their process works, which is by all accounts pretty, like, the fact that I know what that is means that they're actually pretty, like, open with how they do things, right? Like, that is how they do it. I know this just from watching fucking ESPN, right? Like, they're pretty open about how they do it.
I thought it was really, really interesting that Notre Dame projected, because I don't usually watch these shows, but it was the last one. I wanted to listen to ESPN say really nice things about Indiana, and they were going to put them on and all that stuff. Notre Dame projected very, very, very confidently, very, very confident, like almost like scary confident. Like, I can't believe they feel like they're a lock. But to your point, everyone in the world knew that BYU was getting moved down. Like, that was a foregone conclusion,
which sucked. I don't agree with, but that's what I knew it was going to happen.
And so if the debate for the last 2-3 weeks has been like, what are you going to value? What is the committee value, right? Do you value the head to head, or do you value, eye test who looks better now? And ultimately what the committee told us was they value the head to head. And
which they should.
And it makes sense, but the frustration comes into your point, like, how come they needed to do that to BYU in the first place? Like, how come BYU wasn't just like, why weren't the teams ranked the way you thought they were? Like, what was the whole game of, like, let's put these teams here to, like, make it just feels like each week we want to make people feel nice, and then they're like, we'll get it right on the last one. It doesn't even matter. Like, it's a sham. None of these rankings matter. And so to put, like, you screwed BYU, you screwed Notre Dame, which I didn't have a problem with, and I thought that whole show was interesting. The entire panel was against Notre Dame. They tried to paint it as a Notre Dame versus Alabama argument when it was very, very clear it was Miami versus Notre Dame. It was just kind of hilarious and a very funny, like, comedic moment for the Notre Dame fans out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of questionable stuff. Like, why does BYU drop but Bama doesn't? Right? Like, very similar outcomes in their own championship games, very to the 3 and 4 teams respectively. Like, so equal teams, and they're like right next to each other in the playoff, but one takes a significant drop for losing in a very similar fashion to the other team that doesn't take a significant drop, because one's BYU and one's Alabama. That's something that needs to be addressed. That's weird. Right. And
but then I get that. But then if you're going to make the brands argument, then it's a no brainer. You're putting Notre Dame in the playoffs. So that's where I can't see the brand argument. So then it then goes to, it also feels like this is a little bit of an FU from the committee to Notre Dame that feels like they're above the sport in some way, and that they don't need to abide by the rules of any other program because they're not in a conference, and they can, because of their TV deal, they can afford to be unassociated and still have, quote unquote, the benefits of every team in a conference. And you went through the season, you look at Notre Dame's schedule, and you look at Notre Dame's schedule next year, and like, you're like, I can't, I get you think to yourself that if they let a 2-loss Notre Dame team and they lose those 2 big games into the playoff, then any 2-loss Notre Dame team is going to be in the playoff every single year. They're going to be a lock. They may as well be an automatic qualifier. And so this was a message from the committee that if Notre Dame wants to continue to be independent, then they're going to be looked at in a different light than any of those teams playing a conference schedule.
I agree. I think you're nailed around the head. I think it is a message to them in a sense, but they also just did the right way, right? Like, they're going to go line by line, and then you got to compare Notre Dame and Miami together, and you're taking out BYU. That they made the right call in my mind. I'm a big believer of the BCS. BCS would have had a different field, which is probably going to happen a lot more now that with the 14 playoff, the BCS never had a different field than the committee. And then recently, now that we expanded to 12, last year BCS would have had Bama in over SMU. Now this year, Notre Dame would have been in over Miami in the field in the BCS.
It is funny because it does feel like that Notre Dame team was playing as like one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the country, and they're just out. And not only are they out, their season is just completely over because they opted out of the bowl game. And
yeah,
people have been saying, like, on call sheet, Marcus Freeman is like 80-something% to take the Giants job or something like that. So who knows what Notre Dame's football team even looks like. And July of 2026.
Oh, 100%. And the funny thing is, like, I think they got it right because they got, the ACC had a weird championship game and Virginia absolutely blew it. It should have been Virginia and it would have solved everyone's issues. And actually, it wouldn't have. They probably would have still had Miami in based on how it went down.
Yes, Miami wasn't that large.
Yeah. But they got an ACC team in, so I think the field's right. They got the best ACC team in the field, and that's still a Power 4 conference, and I think that's important to make sure you have all the conference representation in the playoff, right? I think that's a big part of it, right? Because that eliminates the biases of like, oh, the ACC stinks, right? Like, does it? Like, or was it just really like self-cannibalizing this year? And that's just how it goes because it's football, And
very
like,
Pac-12.
Now we'll be able to see now Miami gets a shot against an A&M team that's questionable, right? Like a questionable A&M team that doesn't have they had a weaker SEC schedule. Like Miami beats them. Let's go. Oh, that's going to change the narrative of the SEC, right? Because Miami lost to 2 ACC teams and the A&M only lost to 1 SEC school. So it's like Miami's able to beat them on their own field. How good is the SEC really? And so I think that, allowing that to happen is great. But yeah, it is weird that I want to call one other thing out. Them dropping BYU and not dropping Alabama. Like, if they're going to drop BYU, they should drop Alabama. Because they were like right next to each other and then just throw in Notre Dame and Miami. Just throw them both in. Why not?
Well, then you're penalizing, like
if you're penalizing.
The BYU thing doesn't make sense because
you're BYU. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to do that, go all the way.
Do it to both of them.
Don't half-ass and leave the SEC team in. Don't Florida State these kids, right? Like,
yep.
Again, it is what it is. It's not as just nothing will ever be as disgusting as the Florida State situation. Bama should have been out, and they lost that first game anyways. So, I think I'm excited for the field. I think it's a great field. James Madison, and obviously the horrible sports scheduling the sports calendar for college football is horrible in the sense that we have these cool stories of James Madison and Tulane getting in, and they're going to be without their head coaches.
Yeah, like
that's horrible. That sucks.
Chesney said his schedule this morning on the show, and he was basically like, "Yeah, I'm going to fly out to LA and do the press conference tomorrow. Then I'll be back at James Madison." I don't know what happened with my camera.
Keezer?
I have no. I guess my camera just died. Can you still hear me? I guess you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to see Jackson Johnson's face for the rest of this, I guess, because my camera just went out for some reason. I don't even remember what I was saying. I'm so thrown off. I like the draw though, Brad. I do like the draw.
I mean, the draw is the draw. Like, I honestly Bama, Oklahoma. Like, we're the number one team in the country. It doesn't matter who the 8-9 is. Those are 2 really good teams, and it's going to be 2 really good teams regardless in the playoff, right? Like, these are the 12 best teams in the country, right? Like, as the 1 seed, it's But yeah, I don't think Bob Chesney is going to be able. Is Bob Chesney coaching the game?
He says he is. Like that's what I was gonna say. Is he's flying out to do the press conference on Wednesday or Monday, sorry, and then he's gonna fly back and he's gonna get the team ready for prep. Then he's gonna fly back out to Eugene and coach that game. Like, and then he's gonna go fly back to LA and record. Like this schedule is insane. Like, John Summerall is gonna try and put Florida's roster together and try and prepare Tulane for. German Shepherd is trying to break the damn door down.
They got to fix the scheduling. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help UCLA. It doesn't help James Madison. It doesn't help the UCLA team players. Doesn't help Bob Chesney. Doesn't help the James Madison players. Doesn't help the Tulane players. Doesn't help the Florida players. That helps no one with this poor scheduling, and it's a mess. And that's honestly the biggest thing they need to fix. They don't need to fix NIL or the transfer portal. That's not what's the issue here. The issue is all that other nonsense. They need to get a standardized schedule. That's what they need. That is priority number 1 for the sport right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a fix for the schedule. I've had this conversation a couple different times, but like, is it better? I mean, I guess it technically is better because you're coaching through the playoff, but like the portal opens January 2nd and closes the 17th. So if you're a really good playoff team, like if you're Brian Hartline and Ohio State's going to play in the semifinal, you're not getting to USF until February, end of January. You're punting completely on your ability to build your roster for 2026, or at least be a factor, right? Like instead of a kid sitting in your office listening to you develop your plan for that player in 2026 and beyond, like they have to listen to a proxy do it. And it's just, how is that a good way to start off, like being the lead figure at a new play? I just, it all sounds great in the moment, right? And you want to finish what you started, but if you want to be successful in your next position, like you got to rip the band-aid and get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think any of the guys who stick around and try and stretch it out on the back end are doing more harm to their new place than they are actually helping the old one.
Mm.
Any closing thoughts on the bracket? Because me and you will have to get together and we're gonna have to talk about a schedule because Indiana doesn't play again until the first of the month. And so I'd like to have a couple guests on over the next couple of weeks. I'd like to do. I don't know if we need to do 2 shows a week, maybe.
No, we'll do
maybe 2 shows every 10 days or something like that.
Week again. No, like the Sundays are strictly for game recaps, so we'll just keep the Tuesday schedule and we'll be.
Yeah, maybe I want to talk to some people though. If my camera ever comes back on.
Yeah, you gotta fix your camera issue first before you even think about guests at this point, you know.
Yeah. A newfound issue. I didn't even know it was an issue.
Yeah. Well, we gotta figure that out now. But yeah, no, I'm down. We'll figure it out. You know, nothing's.
We'll talk. Yeah. The Indiana Hoosiers are 13-0. They are the Big Ten champions. They have beaten Ohio State. They are the number 1 team in the country, and they will be going to the Rose Bowl to take on the winner of Alabama and Oklahoma.
They are the undisputed number 1. First time ever ranked in the AP number 1, by the way. First time ever.
And unanimous, too.
Unanimous. Yeah, and I peeped Notre Dame's schedule next year. They have 4 bowl-eligible teams, including a playoff team in Miami next year scheduled. So
for now,
same situation as last year, but it almost feels like it's like worse, where it's like they have to go like 11-1 maybe to make the playoff. Right? Like
we're a long ways away from looking at the schedules in 2026. Long ways away.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to counter that, you know, harp on that Notre Dame point, the message that the committee's sending to them.
Yeah. I like it.
If you're going to be independent, schedule it tougher, you know? You know, if you get to choose your own schedule, you're all 12. You get to choose all 12 of your opponents, where that's not true for every other school. You gotta make it better. You gotta make the schedule tougher. Anyways, but yeah, I feel like Georgia should have been and Ohio State should have been flopped. Because I feel like
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either because I think Ohio State is the second best team in the country, but conference champions matter. Georgia's 12-1. I mean, I guess you can make the same argument about Texas Tech, but come on, we all know SEC Georgia has a lot better wins than Ohio State does this year. That's just a fact. That's just like a statistical thing. And then at that point, you could even argue Texas Tech's in the same boat. So it's an interesting draw. They got the buys right. They got the top 4 correct, maybe not in the right order, and they got the field. In my mind, for the most part, the most correct it could be. I personally probably would have been vouching for BYU pretty heavily if I was in the committee, but I don't think I would have been flipping chairs if we ultimately decided on Miami getting it over Notre Dame. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, it does. It makes a lot of sense. You got any closing thoughts, Brad, before I get us out of here?
No, go Hoosiers. Let's go. Big Ten champs. No one can take it away from us. Let's go.
I love it.
I completely forgot about the basketball game that happened that day.
What basketball game?
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I'm not giving any final thoughts on the Indiana Hoosiers men's basketball team until 5 games into the conference season. Until then, like it's and even probably until like it's football season. I literally could care less in the best way possible. I do not care.
Yeah. I love being right.
I hope they win. I love being right. And this Indiana Hoosiers football team can play with and beat anybody in the country, and they proved it yesterday. And it was the most impressive football game I've ever watched. So shout out to the guys. Shout out to everybody in that building, in that room. And yeah, we're in for one hell of a ride. One still. We'll be back on Tuesday. Obviously, shout out to the guys, Wave, Nick Scroll, Signar, the intro song, 1621, the outro song, the Sweet Sound of Butter Symphony. If you're watching on Twitter, hop on over to YouTube. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Indiana at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. Check me out on Twitter at Alec Keiser. Check out Brad at Bradley_Loomis8. Check out Indiana at the Voice of College Football on all the socials. And yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday night. We'll be back. We'll be talking playoff. We'll be talking, hopefully, recruiting update. And yeah, and we'll probably have a guest too, and I'll have a camera.
Hey, you gotta fix the camera before we do anything.
Yeah, I don't, dude. This is the first time this is ever happened.
Next Tuesday. I have to cancel Tuesday if you don't get this camera going. I cannot be talking to Jackson Johnson face all like,
especially when we might be matching up with them.
I can't. I'll go insane if that happens. I need to see your face if we're gonna.
We'll figure it out. All right, here's the Sweet Sound of Butter Symphony to play us out. Appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll see you on Tuesday night. Go your Big Ten champion, #1 Indiana Hoosier.
I'm a Big Ten champ. Go Hoosiers.
I'm a Big Ten champ, and you're a Big Ten champ too.